Hello YouTube, Shin Tiger Curl here, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you the next part of my countdown to Pirate Warriors 3 Let's Play. Alright, now we're moving on to the boisterous and somewhat lying and cowardly sniper of the Straw Hat Pirates, Ussop. First of a few notes. One, this is actually my second take for this one because of some audio issues. I lost the last recording I did for this, so this is actually my second time doing this. So here's hoping it will go a lot better. Also, if you want to, like all the others, all my information is coming from the One Piece wiki. So if you want to find out more about the world and characters of One Piece, check out the One Piece wiki. You will find all the episode guides, manga chapters, character profiles, locations, and whatever kind of else you want to find out in the world of One Piece. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Ussop is the sniper of the Straw Hat Pirates and the former captain of the Ussop Pirates. When Ussop was first introduced, he was often comically labeled as the quote-unquote liar of the Straw Hat Pirates due to the Usso in his name literally meaning lie or falsehood. He was born in Surf Village and was first mentioned by Ussop, his father. He was officially the third, unofficially fourth, member of the crew and third to join, and including Nami and Robin, was also the third to rejoin, doing so after the end of the post-Ines Lobby arc. His bounty of 300 million berries, 30 million berries, is credited to his alias and alter ego Sogeking. He is also considered one of the weak trio of the crew, alongside Nami and Chopper. After awakening his Kinbushoku Haki, he has become the fourth member of the crew to demonstrate and use this particular form of Haki. Personality. Ussop is one of the more sentimental Straw Hats and cries or loses his temper in moments of emotional stress. Burp. At the start of the series, Ussop is an easily frightened, anxious, insecure, and compulsive liar. Unlike Nami, whose cowardice is linked to just wanting to stay alive, Usopp's cowardice was the result of his fear and insecurity, especially when faced with uncertainty. Ussop is able to put aside his fear during more desperate times. Despite being afraid, he faces those fears for the sake of his friends and people he barely knows. Most of his lying was intended to make himself feel better, as Ussop is easily overwhelmed by his opponents, such as Aokiji, and used to run from them. He used to be the first to come up with an excuse to avoid doing something or to avoid putting himself in danger. One of his most frequently used excuses is that he gets a disease named, for example, can't get on this island disease. Before the time skip, he also had delusions of acting like the captain, referring to himself as Captain Ussop when talking to Chopper, opponents, or strangers. It is this which causes the feud between him and Luffy, specifically his refusal to part with the ship he had come to love. This was a result of all of his insecurities about his usefulness as a member of the crew, culminating within him, and finally exploding under the stress of having been badly beaten by the Frankie family, and then losing his ship. He was worried that since he was not as physically strong as Luffy, Sanji, or Zoro, that he would be a burden to the crew. Although he is very intelligent and a talented sniper, he has trouble seeing his better qualities, and his strengths until the fight at Ines Lobby opened his eyes. After said fight, Ussop was able to finally see his better half and realize that even though he was not as strong as the others, he's still quite powerful in his own right. After meeting the giants Dory and Brogy in the Little Garden arc, Ussop began to want to travel to Elbaf one day and meet the proud warriors there. Ussop gave his first glimpse of understanding the ways of the warrior and pride of a duel during the giants' battle. As a result, Ussop often sees the Elbaf warriors he met on his travels as sources of inspiration in his journey to become a brave warrior of the sea. Throughout Thriller Bark, many members of the crew fell victim to the effects of Perona's negative powers, causing them to become incredibly depressed to the point where they could not move. However, Ussop, though slightly affected by the powers, got to his feet claiming that he could not become negative because he was already negative, even saying it in a brag-like way. Corona claimed that he was the only person who was ever immune to her powers, to the point where that using her powers on him caused her to become severely depressed. So she fled from him in terror. After finding out about Ace's death, he developed the courage to escape and help out Luffy through the hardship, or else he couldn't call himself a crewmate. Usopp shows an unusual lack of fear in his attempts to get off the island to rejoin Luffy, showing no hesitation in facing down the giant beetle who was bigger than he was. He also has a dislike of mushrooms due to him eating a poisonous mushroom when he was younger. After the time skip, Usopp became more confident in himself, especially in terms of his fighting abilities, and boasts that he has become a full warrior. Prior to the time skip, Usopp usually freaks out about joining the crew in the fights at the human auction. However, on his return to the Shadowbound archipelago, he shows no fear to the imposter Straw Hats, despite having guns, and attacks them without hesitation, and thus turns his back to them to talk peacefully with Nami. Later in the Battle of Geosaucordi Plaza, when facing off against Daruma, an officer of the new Fishmen pirates, he's shown to be smiling, seemingly excited about his imminent fight, though at the time he was under the impression that Chopper would be providing him with backup. He now comically smacks people, mostly Luffy, more frequently when they annoy him or say something stupid. However, he is now willing to stand and fight with the rest of the crew. He is still reasonably frightened of danger that is beyond his ability, though, such as Luffy and Zoro popping the coating bottle while under the water, or the White Storm, or traveling on the Green Bit. He was adamant that he and Robin stay close together. His "I can't get on this island or I'll die" disease is still shown when he did not want to go to Punk Hazard, even despite the fact that he understood the strength of his crew. His habit of lying also remains, as displayed on Green Bit when he quickly adapted to the native dwarves, immediately claiming himself to be Ussoland, direct descendant of the hero Nolan, after discovering the connection between the two. Usopp has on a few occasions displayed this subtle perverted side to him that is not often noted upon. The best example of this is when he, Brook, and Zoro are trapped in a suspended cage in Ryugu Palace, and Brook explains his newfound ability to extend his soul over long distances. He also explains that his soul can now travel through solid objects, including walls, which he began to have a small nosebleed, indicating that he used this ability to peep on girls during the duration of the time skip. Usopp began crying to Zoro, stating that Brook was, quote-unquote, making him jealous. Alter Ego, Sogeking. Sogeking is Usopp's alter ego developed during the Water 7 and Ines Lobby arcs when he left the crew. Later, seeing the others trying to save Robin made him feeling guilty for leaving, so he stated to Sanji and Frankie that he cannot help them to fight for this reason. He hastily disguised himself in a mask and cape and began calling himself Sogeking. The name is a pun between the Japanese word Sogeki, meaning sniper, and the English word king. He is called Sogeking in the Funimation subs, and in the Viz manga and Funimation dub, he is simply called Sniper King. Sogeking's trademark mask was found on the sea train Puffing Tom. As Sanji leaves the last car of the sea train, the mask is visible in an open suitcase. It was probably left over from the mask festival that was taking place on a nearby island at the time. The Sniper King outfit is only complete when Usopp incorporates the goggles, his favorite goggles, into the mask eye holes. During this facade, he sometimes dons a deeper voice to disguise himself, which can be seen as the true Sniper King. Sogeking refers to nearly everyone with the Japanese suffix kun. Examples: Luffy-kun, Zoro-kun, Robin-kun, etc. And when asked where the whereabouts of the island of snipers he supposedly comes from, he maintains that it exists, quote-unquote, in your heart. As Sogeking, he changes the names of his attacks from Japanese to English, such as the Firebird Star when shooting down the world government flag. The true Sniper King has been known to break character on occasion, speaking in Usopp's normal voice and temporarily dropping his fearless demeanor. For example, he briefly lost his cool when Nami called him Sogepoop. Everyone except Luffy and Chopper realized right away that Sogeking was Usopp at the sight of Usopp's significantly long nose. Tamaneji, Ninjin, Pillamon, and Kaya were able to easily recognize him, though they claimed that no one else in the village did. As his alter ego, Usopp is able to fight alongside the others without having to address the issue of his departure. During his time spent as Sogeking, Usopp began to realize that while he was one of the weaker members of the crew, his role as the crew's sniper and supporting crew member made him more valuable than he thought. Ultimately, he was recorded as Sogeking on his wanted poster. The fact that Usopp himself is not technically wanted by the law later allows him to slip through enemy lines seemingly undetected, as shown when Oars originally let Usopp go because, being Luffy's shadow, Oars did not recognize him as Sogeking. During his fight with Perona, Usopp started arguing inside his head with his alter ego over the situation. Once he put on the mask, he gained the self-confidence that enabled him to defeat Kumashi. This indicates that he compartmentalizes this aspect of himself to deal with the stress of the situation. The genuine Sogeking has not made an appearance since the 2-year time skip. However, during the Straw Hats' return to the Shibayoni archipelago, when Usopp and Nami faced 4 of the imposter Straw Hats, Usopp sees the mask worn by the fake Sogeking. While he says Sogeking, it doesn't indicate whether he merely is surprised that someone is impersonating him or actually believes that it is the real Sogeking. Although when he reunites with Chopper, Usopp and Nami tell Chopper that they were imposters. Abilities and powers. According to Oda in a discussion with Miyumi Tanaka, Luffy's voice actress, says, quote, "No matter who joins the crew, Usopp he always wants Usopp to be the weakest," unquote, since otherwise it might upset the balance of the story. Oda also states that this is because Usopp is the closest in strength to a regular human when compared to the others, and thus this portrayal can be easily related to by the average person's own strengths. Since the earliest parts of the series, he has struggled to match the physical feats of the stronger characters and needed weapons and ammunition to take out his foes. He used to be a huge coward and often wanted to run away immediately, a trait that he still carries to a lesser extent after his 2 years of training. This, coupled with his easily getting distracted and confused in battle, often has made him less effective than his real potential as a sniper. So far, he has appeared to have moved past this part of his life after training and takes better advantage of his wit and strategy. Both his physical and mental strength have all increased during the 2 years away, as he was able to quickly dispatch all of Caesar Clown's men. While many of his attributes lie mainly in his ability to hit nearly anything he sets his sights to with his slingshot, he is now shown to be strong enough to keep both Robin and Luffy and himself afloat in freezing water. Sniper skills and creative wit. Usopp's role in the crew is that of the sniper, and also a jack-of-all-trades craftsman. Since early in the series, he is shown to inherit much of his father Usopp's exceptional marksman skills. His ability relies primarily on his resourcefulness and understanding towards engineering, such as understanding the tunnel network made by Ms. Merry Christmas, and using the cannons of a ship with great ease. He's also very analytical in battle. For example, in his battle with Caesar Clown, he understood that even though Caesar Clown had the gas fruit, therefore making him a Logia type, he would still explode if he was exposed to fire, as he was still just gas. He then later understood that the plan would not work, as Caesar Clown was in control of the gases around him, and that if he removed the oxygen from the atmosphere, the flame would no longer burn. He also has been proven to be clever enough to stop a foe like Caesar Clown from escaping by surprising him with a pair of sea stone handcuffs that he fired at him, effectively negating his powers. Usopp's marksmanship is nearly unmatched, hitting Spandam and some Marines from a distance over a mile, outdistancing even the guns of the Marines had, with the wind against him. In order to stop Sugar a second time, he demonstrated his ability to calculate and predict trajectory angles, influence of the wind and distance, and even incorporate booster shots into his projectile, thereby allowing him to hit his target located indoors, physically located too far away to even be visualized through a small opening in a window. Ussop has impeccable eyesight and has on more than one occasion seen or noticed things before his crew members. Examples of this include being the first to see Gecko Moria inside the stomach of the gargantuan zombie Ors, and being the only one to be able to see the harpy Monet watching them on Punk Hazard. Prior to his introduction of Frankie, Ussop has served as a Straw Hat's sole unofficial gadgets and mechanical specialist. His creative engineering has resulted in the creation of both the Climatact and the Kabuto. He appears to have some knowledge concerning chemistry, whether being solely responsible for manufacturing the highly innovative slingshot pellets or stars that he uses for ammunition. For more complex activities, such as acting as the shipwright for the Going Merry, he is largely inexperienced, as he was barely able to keep the Going Merry going through patchwork repairs. As Frankie pointed out, his skills are amateurish, and he barely knows how to use a hammer correctly for such jobs. After Frankie joins the crew, Ussop gladly lets him take over in maintaining the ship, even agreeing to get to Frankie's request to assist him. In return, Frankie provided a workshop for Ussop to work on his gadgets and creations, something he's more at home with. Even if Frankie admits that his skills and talents with gadgets are considerable. Physical abilities. Ussop's endurance and willpower are considerable as well. After a major battle, Ussop tends to have severe injuries, often caused by his determination to reach his goal. He will attempt to continue with his even with his injuries. A prominent example of his incredible durability can be observed when Ussop was hit in the face by Mr. Four's 4-ton baseball bat and smashed repeatedly through several brick walls by Ms. Merry Christmas, and not only survived it, but was able to continue fighting. This has been shown more recently in their fight with the legendary Golden Lion Shiki, whereas he was the only Straw Hat to remain conscious after the battle. Ussop's endurance after the time skip is once again displayed when he was attacked by a drug-enhanced giant child on Punk Hazard, and almost immediately got back up ready to attack. He was then suffocated by Caesar Clown with his gas fruit abilities before taking a direct Gastanet attack, only to come out of it with few bruises. This emphasizes the fact that his training and newfound body are not just for show. One of Ussop's main attributes is that he's a fast runner. In battle, Ussop uses hit-and-run tactics and works best as part of a team, whereas there are more physical fighters to watch his back. This is due to the fact that he is so high-strung and jumpy, he often gives in to his basic survival instincts, fight or flight, usually choosing flight, although this seems to have changed after the time skip, where he is shown to be more confident in his abilities. Even before his extensive training during the time skip, Ussop was capable of running faster than a pacifista while carrying a wounded Zorro. Haki. Ussop has awakened his Kinbushoku Haki during the latter half of the Dressrosa Revolt, as he was able to see the auras of Luffy, Law, and Sugar, who were in the Royal Palace, from a plateau near the Corrida Coliseum. With this, he was able to pinpoint his target and snipe her down from such a distance. Ussop does not yet have control of this ability, as it was just awakened during his attack to knock out Sugar. Miscellaneous skills. Ussop is a great artist, as he proved in the beginning of the series when he made his and the Straw Hat's Jolly Rogers in response to Luffy's poor art skills. A running gag involves Luffy and Chopper building simple snowmen or sandcastles, only for Ussop to show his vastly superior skills with a professional work of his own. He also boasted, much like Luffy and Sanji, that he has never been ill during his entire life, which impressed Vivi. Ussop used to make spiders fight when he was younger and knows how to handle them without being bitten by their fangs or being poisoned in the process. Likely due to his time with Heracles, Ussop has gardening skills, which he uses to cultivate pop greens for his arsenal. Weapons. Ussop has an outstanding marksmanship abilities with his weapon of choice, the slingshot, which is the primary reason why he serves as the ship's sniper, and also why he is often tasked with getting anything that needs precision at a long distance, most notably the Thousand Sunny's Gown cannon. Ussop has developed other attacks unrelated to projectiles, though they are mainly jokes. These include the 5-ton hammer and others. After the Skypiea arc, he has started using dials for attacks, such as the breath dial to house explosive gases, the flash dial to blind his opponents, and the impact dial to absorb and return blows. Ussop improves his eyesight and/or focus using special goggles. He purchased an upgraded pair in Logetown, but the actual scene of him purchasing them were cut out in the 4Kids dub. The scene was also absent in the original manga due to lack of room. Since the time skip, he has discarded those goggles and gained a new pair that he typically wears around his neck. Ginga Pachinko. His slingshot is also known as the Ginga Pachinko, was his primary form of combat, and he has many different types of ammunition, in which he carried a large shoulder bag of his. He also uses eggs in order to blind his opponents and rocks whenever he runs out of ammunition, before the time skip. Kabuto. In the Inez Lobby arc, Ussop introduced a new weapon, the Kabuto, a slingshot with 5 bands connected to a long staff. It has much greater power than his normal slingshot does because it is powered by Skypiean dials. Its range is enormous, and Ussop can use it to strike individual targets quite accurately from seemingly impossible distances. The exact workings of the Kabuto are unknown, except that the 5 bands increase stability, and thus range, and the dials in the instrument add spin to the ammunition, similar to rifling, to increase damage and accuracy, as well as allowing Ussop to carry a variety of different dials, choose a different variety of dial effects to add to each shot. He explained some of the workings of the Kabuto to Perona during their fight, but was interrupted before he could finish. Kuro Kabuto. After the time skip, he uses a new slingshot called Kuro Kabuto, which retains the 5-band design of the original Kabuto. The only immediate clear difference is that it is colored black and it is a smaller size, whereas the first Kabuto was a staff, and the new one is nearly the same size of his original slingshot. Grow Up Kabuto. His new Kabuto also has the ability to take on a more powerful form and larger form that he calls Kuro Kabuto Chomping Grass. After being given water, it eats up nearly anything in the area, such as rocks and boulders, to use as ammunition. This technique allows Ussop to capture Caesar Clown along with Buffalo and Baby 5. He can expand it to even larger size that he dubs Super Grow Up Kabuto Kuro, which is useful for particularly long-range attacks. Pop Greens. After the time skip, Ussop is shown to be quite adept at using pop greens, as shown when he defeated some of the imposter Straw Hats by creating a carnivorous plant that resembled a monstrous Venus flytrap with tendrils. During the Fishman Island arc, he also manages to save the crew and the Thousand Sunny from being crushed by boulders by using pop greens to grow seaweed-like plants to trap the boulders, and again when they encountered the new Fishman pirates in the Ryugu Palace, using a giant flower with a terrible smell to deter them. In another battle with some of the new Fishman pirate lackeys, Ussop is seen using a particular type of pop green that makes bamboo shoots erupt from the ground, impaling or gouging his enemies. Later in a fight with Daruma, he shoots a special exploding pop green into the tunnels made by Daruma's teeth, which explodes in the shape of a skull. He later uses one that transforms into a giant wolf, with the bulb that grew from it acting as its nose, which releases a stunning shockwave that is 3 meters in diameter to finally defeat the Fishman. During his trip to Greenbit with Robin, Law, and Caesar, Usopp's pop greens have been shown to be powerful enough to take out a full-grown adult fighting fish. Ussop has been shown to be able to catch his opponents off guard by using pop greens in intricate ways. Also, while pop greens are useful for battle purposes, some can also be used for utility functions, like boats and paddles. He keeps a small garden on the Thousand Sunny to grow more pop greens in order to maintain a continuous and steady supply of seeds. And that is Usopp's profile, coming in at 24 minutes. And it was a pretty decent one, too. Hopefully, and the recording didn't fuck up, so there's that. So, If you like what you see, link, comment, subscribe below. Got any questions, comments, or just want to talk One Piece? Leave them below. I'll get back to each and every one of you. If you want to support the channel, just snipe that like button or click on one of the advertisements. They literally just take a second out of your day, and it really does help me out. Also, if you want to donate directly, tip jars up there. Just leave $1 or $2 if you want. Doesn't matter to me. So next time for Countdown to Pirate Warriors 3, we're looking at the last of the monster trio, the love cook himself, Sanji. So until next time, it's the Shin Tiger Curl, that dude in the straw hat, saying good morning, and I've suddenly got I need to stop this recording disease.